When people talk about the possibility of Terence Crawford moving up to face Canelo Alvarez, the conversation often splits in two directions. On one side, there are those who argue that Crawford's incredible skill set could allow him to compete with anyone regardless of size. On the other, there are many who believe that once he steps into the ring with someone as powerful and proven at higher weights as Canelo, the difference will be clear. Jermall Charlo was among the first to break it down in plain terms. He said that Canelo's advantage will be simple: his power. Charlo argued that the key factor isn't whether Crawford is a great fighter, because everyone knows he is, but how long he can survive against the heavy shots Canelo throws. Crawford has been moving up divisions to get to this point, but he has not yet faced someone of Canelo's physical strength. Charlo pointed out that Crawford, despite his dominant resume, couldn't even seriously hurt Israel Madrimov, who is a solid fighter but nowhere near Canelo's level. To Charlo, that's an early indicator that the challenge will be even tougher than some fans think. He also reminded people not to underestimate how effective Canelo's so-called basic skills are. Many dismiss Canelo as being flat-footed or predictable, but Charlo explained that Canelo's fundamentals are executed with such precision that they become extremely difficult to deal with. Every shot is thrown with perfect balance and maximum power. Fighters who think Canelo is easy to outmaneuver usually discover too late that his deliberate style is calculated, not lazy. Kell Brook, who once fought Gennady Golovkin and knows what it's like to jump up and weight against a dangerous middleweight, also weighed in. He said Crawford's victory over Errol Spence was brilliant but cannot be compared to a matchup with Canelo. Brook emphasized that Canelo has fought every style imaginable. He has gone toe-to-toe with the best Russians like Sergey Kovalev, battled Kazakhstan's pride in Golovkin, and has taken on fighters from all over the world. Brook admitted that Crawford has the IQ and movement to trouble anyone, but he doesn't fight like Floyd Mayweather, who defeated Canelo years ago. Crawford tends to set his feet more, whereas Mayweather was a pure mover who exploited Canelo's inexperience at the time. In Brook's view, this fight would be very different, and he leaned toward favoring Canelo. Analysts consistently return to one central point: Crawford may simply be too small. He is moving up nearly 3 divisions, and his time at 154 has been extremely limited. In contrast, Floyd Mayweather, before he fought Canelo, had already faced bigger names at that weight such as Oscar De La Hoya and Miguel Cotto. Crawford has not had that kind of preparation. Gabe Rosado, speaking from personal experience, explained it bluntly. As someone who fought as a solid middleweight and light heavyweight, he said that when smaller guys move up and punch, their power feels like pillows compared to what he's used to. That's not to insult them, but just reality. When you've been trading punches with men like Golovkin and David Lemieux, the shots from welterweights don't carry the same danger. Rosado argued that this could be the exact situation Crawford faces against Canelo. This point connects to another question many analysts are asking: not whether Crawford can land on Canelo, but whether Canelo will even feel those punches. Alvarez has taken the best shots from fighters as large as light heavyweights and rarely been shaken. He absorbed Golovkin's bombs across 3 fights without ever being wobbled. He stood up to Dmitry Bivol's power, even when he was outboxed. He has never looked fragile against larger men. That experience gives Canelo an advantage that Crawford simply hasn't had: years of conditioning his body against heavy hitters. At the same time, Canelo is not just a brawler. He uses his balance, head movement, and defensive instincts to roll with punches and take the sting out of them. Some believe he looks flat-footed, but it is actually a deliberate choice that allows him to generate more power while maintaining stability. This makes him dangerous even when opponents believe they are outmaneuvering him. Despite this, Crawford still has strong advocates who believe in his ability to adapt. Antonio Tarver pointed out that Crawford is more than just a fighter, he's a thinker. Crawford visualizes fights ahead of time and mentally rehearses scenarios. According to Tarver, Crawford has probably already fought Canelo in his mind dozens of times, preparing for every possibility. What sets Crawford apart, he argued, is not size but adaptability. He adjusts to opponents mid-fight, breaks them down piece by piece, and imposes his rhythm. Tarver believes that Canelo has not faced someone this intelligent and versatile in years. This is why Kelly Pavlik suggested a clear strategy for Crawford: attack Canelo early. Pavlik argued that if Crawford can win at least 3 of the first 4 rounds, he will force Canelo to fight harder than usual. History shows that when Canelo controls the pace, he can go 12 rounds without fading. But when opponents push him from the start, like Bivol did, he tends to tire in the later rounds. Pavlik's idea is that Crawford should make Canelo chase, throw more punches, and use more energy. By the 7th or 8th round, if Canelo's muscles begin to slow, Crawford can then press harder and possibly outpoint him or even push for a late stoppage. Dan Rafael also made a valuable observation about the size debate. He explained that people often look at the two fighters standing next to each other and assume they are similar in size. But what matters is not physical appearance, but the shots they have absorbed over the years. Canelo has been hit by full-fledged light heavyweights and shrugged it off. Crawford has spent most of his career absorbing punches from junior welterweights and welterweights. That difference in experience cannot be ignored. According to Rafael, this could be the decisive factor because Canelo already knows what it feels like to face much bigger punchers. Crawford does not. Mikey Garcia was more direct in his assessment. He warned that Canelo's body shots could be devastating for Crawford. Canelo has built a career on breaking down opponents with hooks to the ribs and crushing shots to the midsection. Garcia said that Crawford's brilliance as a technician may not be enough when faced with that kind of power. If Canelo lands a clean body shot, it could instantly change the fight. He believed Crawford's best chance was to box cautiously and avoid damage, but even then, the danger of one single uppercut or hook remains. Garcia even predicted that if Crawford feels the power early, he may switch into survival mode, box from the outside, and simply try to make it to the final bell rather than risk serious injury. This is not an exaggeration. Analysts remind fans that fighters risk more than just a loss. The power Canelo brings can cause lasting physical damage if smaller men stand and trade. Detached retinas, broken orbital bones, and long-term injuries are real possibilities. That is why many in the boxing world are cautious about celebrating this matchup too eagerly. At the same time, everyone agrees on one point. If Crawford pulls off the upset, it would elevate his legacy to historic levels. Beating Canelo would mean conquering a challenge few dared to take, and doing it at nearly 39 years old after already becoming undisputed in 2 divisions. Some even argue that such a victory would put Crawford in the top 3 fighters of all time, right alongside the greatest legends in the sport. This is not impossible. Crawford's performance against Errol Spence was one of the most dominant in recent history. He didn't just beat Spence, he dismantled him with flawless timing, accuracy, defense, and finishing ability. Many fans and experts called it the single greatest performance they had ever witnessed in a championship fight. Crawford looked like a complete fighter with no weaknesses that night. His supporters insist that he has looked even sharper in training for this fight, with speed, reflexes, and conditioning still intact despite his age. The debate ultimately comes down to this: can Crawford handle Canelo's punches, and can Canelo handle Crawford's craftiness? Both are among the elite of the elite. Canelo has carried the sport on his back for years, proving himself against every style and every top fighter from middleweight up to light heavyweight. Crawford has dominated every man he's faced, becoming a rare 2-division undisputed champion and proving his greatness time and time again. If Crawford wins, it will be because he finds a way to neutralize Canelo's size and power with intelligence, speed, and adaptability. If Canelo wins, it will be because the difference in strength and durability is simply too much for even a fighter as brilliant as Crawford to overcome. Either way, this fight represents a clash of greatness. The truth is that Canelo's resume is stacked with legends. He has fought Golovkin 3 times, defeated Sergey Kovalev, handled Miguel Cotto, and outboxed Daniel Jacobs. He has seen slick boxers like Austin Trout, powerful punchers like Alfredo Angulo, movers like Caleb Plant, and durable warriors like Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. There is nothing Crawford can show him that he hasn't at least seen in some form before. But Crawford's supporters will argue the opposite, that Canelo hasn't faced someone with Crawford's particular combination of skills in years. They claim Canelo has looked slower in recent fights, showing signs of wear after so many tough battles. They believe Crawford's timing and ring IQ could expose those vulnerabilities. It is rare in boxing to see such a pure clash of narratives: skill versus size, IQ versus power, adaptability versus experience. That is why so many fans are intrigued even while others are skeptical. For those who are tired of the debate, they simply say they'll be glad once the fight is over so that attention can return to other matchups such as Devin Haney, Artur Beterbiev, or David Benavidez. But until then, the question remains unanswered. Can Crawford move up nearly 3 divisions and defeat one of the greatest fighters of the modern era? Or will Canelo prove once again that fundamentals, strength, and durability at the higher weights are too much for smaller men to overcome? Only the fight itself will tell. Until then, the arguments continue, each side convinced that they already know the ending,